Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel, where today it is that time of year. We are closing out 2025, heading into 2026. So we are looking at the best EPs of 2025. So we're going to start with some honourable mentions. So the EPs that I thoroughly enjoyed but did not make the cut in 2025 for end of year top 5 were Rev Noir with their EP Coma, Face Yourself with their EP Fury, Wave Painter with their EP Vita Incerta, Duck Boy with his EP Coping Strategies to Combat the Algorithm. Now, these are all fantastic EPs. The only reason they did not make my top 5 is because they did not get as much listen time through singles or full playthroughs of the EP in one sitting as the ones in my top 5 placement. So, without further ado, starting at 5th place, which only just made the cut with some of the least playtime, is SACE6. I think that's how you say it. SACE6 with their EP Limerence. Now, this was a solid EP. There was one or two songs particularly that got the most playtime out of the entire EP. I discovered them through my Amazon Discover playlist, and they kind of stuck around for the last few months, which garnered them the 5th spot on this list, just beating out Rev Noir. In 4th place is an EP and an artist that actually made it into my top 5 monthly listens frequently on Amazon Music from the day that their first single released all the way up until the end of year, where they were in my top 5 artists for the end of year. They're a fairly divisive band. Some people didn't like their debut, their like the way that they were revealed, their music, the way that each song has a different vibe, a different feel, their fucking debut at Download Festival, which probably gives away that I'm talking about President. And unlike what some channels might tell you, their debut was an EP. It was like 4 or 5 songs, barely cracked 20 minutes, if that. It's an EP. Because I did see one particular channel had this in their worst of 2025 albums list. Now, I'm not sure when an EP became an album. I'm not throwing shade. I was very confused by that, and it was like their #1 worst album of the year, which, in my eyes, kind of disqualifies that list because it's an EP, not an album. So I don't know, but I did Google it and checked it before I put it on my EPs list, and it did specify their debut EP, King of Terrors. So it does qualify for this, and I enjoyed it. I loved Sins of the Father. I loved Diagnosis, Rage. Honestly, Sins of the Father got the most playtime out of all of the songs, but I was thoroughly enjoyed a lot of it, and it made me excited to see what they do with a full album. I'm hoping this was just kind of a sampler of what they could do, obviously with Destroy Me being slightly different from In the Name of the Father, all of those being slightly different from Rage, and Fearless being slightly more poppy-ish, whereas Diagnosis was much quieter, Conclave was slightly different as well. And, you know, I enjoyed it. I felt like it was kind of this is the sort of styles you can expect from us. This is a melting pot. We are President. Enjoy. And I reckon in 2026 we will see either a few more EPs or a full album from them, which will probably be slightly more refined. But yeah, they take 4th place for me. cracking into the third place spot here is Currents with their EP All That Follows. This was a very solid showing. Again, it was like 4 or 5 songs that just constantly found their way in my rotation, and as with all Currents music, it's fucking great, which I did struggle between putting them on second or third, and the only reason they got third is because the 1 and 2 spots had much more playtime for me than the Currents EP. So, without further ado, second place for 2025 goes to Sharia Moore with their EP Chrome Hearts. Now, from the minute I discovered Sharia Moore, I loved their sound, their style, the like metal mixed with R&B and everything. It was just a vibe, a great vibe. It was perfect for putting on in the background and just enjoying or playing whilst I was gaming, and it still holds up. From the minute it was released to now, I love every song on that EP, and hands down I've enjoyed the fuck out of it, which is why they take second place. And coming in first place, with possibly a little bit of bias, but again, I take into account more so how much I've listened to the music off of the EP, more so with my standing with the band or stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, I'm a fucking nobody. None of these artists, most of these artists don't know who the fuck I am. But the number 1 spot for 2025, for me personally, was Pyro Ohio with their comeback EP of Where Do You Find Yourself? Now, yes, they are a friend of the channel. Yes, I do know a couple of the guys from the band, but I did not take that into account when I did this. They had, I think at one point, 200 hours of playtime in 1 month from me this year, and a vast majority of that probably was their first 2 singles off of this. Then when the EP dropped, I may or may not have listened to it about 3 or 4 times back to back in one day. I thoroughly enjoyed every song on this EP. It is a great return to form, and I am extremely happy with how the return from Pyro has come about, because they are some of the coolest dudes I've met, and honestly, their music it's new, but it just has that fucking nostalgic early 2000s metal and alt vibes that it's kind of timeless in a weird way, even though most of it was recorded in 2024 to 2025. But you know, it's a comeback EP. I expect many more great things from them in the coming years. I say in the coming years, like I think I saw they tease something for 2026. Like I said, it's hard for them to put stuff out and get together because the guys all kind of live in different areas. They've got a lot of logistics to overcome, and I'm pretty sure they were probably quite nervous about releasing this. But I think they deserve their flowers for it. It was a very solid showing of the styles they can do. There were some soft songs, some heavy songs. There was a good feature on there, and honestly, one of them is my new favorite Pyro Ohio song. So that says a lot, I think. So congratulations to them. I genuinely loved most of these EPs. Like I said, the only reason the honorable mentions didn't get in were Playtime, Sheerly Nothing Else. Because like I said, I did go back and forth with removing there was at least 2 that did keep dropping out of the top 5 and getting swapped around. But I gave myself a cut-off date where I had to have the list locked in by, and I couldn't change it after that, and this is what I ended up with. So yeah, that is my end of year top 5 EPs of 2025 with the honourable mentions. I will see you guys in the next video, which will be my albums of the year. So look forward to that, hopefully. And I will see you guys in the next video. Remember to stay safe out there, my friends. Goodbye.